developed its enlightenment, fostered by thinkers John Locke, Scott David Hume, and many others. Meanwhile, England had the courage to overthrow and behead its king back in the 17th century, which astonished the whole Europe. Although the monarchy had eventually been restored, this experience created certain openness toward change in many places. English liberty was dynamite when transported to France, where resistance by church and state was fierce to the last possible moment. Across the Atlantic, many of the intellectual leaders of the American colonies were drawn to the Enlightenment, wherein nothing more powerfully impelled the movement toward the separation of church and state than the realization that no one church could dominate this new state. France, during the Old Regime, 3 estates divided the country. The first estate was composed of the clergymen who represented the church in France. The other estates, the second and the third estates, were the nobility and the commoners. The first estate was considered privileged, since they were exempted from tax and they received tithes. This class was divided into upper and lower clergy, which had their respective varying duties to the people. The clergy, together with the second estate, benefit from the economy, while the third estate suffered from the financial crisis. Later on, the work of Abises, a clergyman, inspired the third estate to voice out their opposition to the king and aristocracy. In his work, What is the Third Estate? In an attempt to resolve the problems of France, King Louis summoned an Estate General, a meeting of representatives of the Third French Estates. During this event, some of the clergy are proven to sympathize with the Third Estate situation. When all the members of the Third Estate walked out from the Estate General because they were angry at the king and sickened by the efforts of the aristocracy to control the Estate General, some of the members of the Third Estate joined and supported them. In this time of the Tennis Court Oath, the National Assembly was formed. Undoubtedly, the First Estate had a role in the rise of the Third Estate's power, which eventually turned against the Church. The National Assembly identified the Church with the aristocracy. Most of the clergymen came from aristocratic family. Because the Church was seen as an extension of the nobility, it was attacked as soon as the Assembly was formed. The Assembly abolished the privileges of Church and criticized its monasticism, encouraging the monks and nuns to break their vows and turn into useful citizens. The Assembly used the civil constitution of clergy to secularize the Church. The state would like to control the Church, thus pressuring the clerics to take the oath. The civil constitution of clergy was a means to promote liberalism and the views of the National Assembly. The people, even the Catholics among themselves, were divided in the views about civil constitution of clergy. The people who agreed to the civil constitution of clergy come to think that church deserves limitation, which resulted to mobs attacking the church. The church struggled so much because of this constitution. Finally, Pope Pius VI broke his silence. He responded to the situation in France through Charitas. More importantly, the other clergy became motivated to be persistent in going against the oath because of the action that they see from the Pope. Pope Pius called the princess to be an aide to King Louis. In due course, the constitution was abandoned. As an after effect of the revolution, church and state was separated. The French Revolution drastically changed Catholicism forever, not only in France, but also throughout all of Europe. The people of France were able to declare themselves as non-Catholic or or non-Christian. By the creation of the civil state, divorce became acceptable. Anti-clericalism and atheism later flourished. Moralization affected the church today and the society today. Because of such events, the church has become stronger and have become more focused on the church matters than government affairs. As the society developed a secular humanistic mindset, the church works hard to rescue the people from these. Since the church has been loyal to the doctrines from the very beginning, now with the challenge of the modern days, this is something that they can go through.